30 seconds and counting.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. There's been a rumor circulating around the internet about a potential trade for the Houston Rockets, potentially trading down to the third pick in exchange getting the Cleveland Cavaliers guard Collin Sexton. The potential trade package could be looking like the second pick and the 23rd pick and the 24th pick from this year's draft going to Cleveland in exchange for the third pick and Collin Sexton, who is on an expiring contract. He'll be restricted free agent after this season. Just some quick notes before we go into the analysis on potential fits for Collin Sexton on the Rockets. This is a deal that we should only do if the Rockets know which prospect the Cavaliers want out of Mobley and Jalen Green. And the only reason you would do this deal is if the Rockets want the prospect that Cleveland doesn't. For example, if the Cavaliers really want Jalen Green and the Rockets want Evan Mobley, that's a situation where you could do the deal, or vice versa, of course. And again, this is probably the only scenario where I would consider doing the deal because, again, I'm not the best fan of Sexton fitting on the Rockets. But again, there's a lot of reason to believe why Collin Sexton could fit on the Rockets. And there's, again, so many of them. But this is the scenario that I think is best for potentially doing this deal, trading down to the third pick, giving up your later first-round picks, and also getting Collin Sexton in return for those second pick and those later first-round pick.
Yeah, and from the Cavs side, the reason that why they're so open to trading Sexton is that they're about to pay Jared Allen, who they acquired in the James Harden trade. Wouldn't really make sense to let him go, like be involved in the trade and let him go. And then signing Sexton to a near max or max contract would definitely make it really hard for them cap-wise. And so, but I think getting Sexton would be like the trade package you mentioned would be really fair for both sides. I think for us, I think why we would do the trade, Sexton obviously fits our timeline, only 22 years old, and obviously resolves our shooting issues and scoring issues. He's very good on catch and shoot threes, catch and shoot shots. The only problem is he doesn't take them at a high frequency. And there's a lot of issues that also come with Sexton, but he does have that great work ethic that you like to see from your young players. The main issues that are presented with Sexton are his tunnel vision and he's not as good of a defender. He's not a plus defender. He's average to below average defender. So our backcourt could present some issues. I guess the same issues you would see if we did draft Jalen Green and didn't do this trade. But I think Sexton, he would be a nice fit for us. He's obviously a great shooter. Don't get it twisted. Collin Sexton is on his path to stardom. Coming off a season where he averaged 24.3 points per game, 3.1 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game, a career high at that. And so obviously he's showing potential in the areas that he needs work on, which were his playmaking abilities. And Collin Sexton, his most notable performance came against the Brooklyn Nets with KD, Kyrie, and Harden, in which he scored 42 points in a double overtime victory, and he scored 20 points straight for the Cavaliers. So you can see that he can be that guy for you, and I think he can really fit with their whole system here, where we have a play out of analytical style. Collin Sexton mostly takes shots from three and takes layups and stuff like that, and I think that's what we've been doing for these past few years. So I think he'd be a great fit on this team. And I definitely like this trade for sure.
Again, with a potential deal for Collin Sexton, a potential lineup that you could be looking at, assuming that the Rockets take Evan Mobley, is a lineup where you could be running Kevin Porter Jr. at the point guard, Sexton at his natural position of the two, Sean Tate, Christian Wood at power forward, and Evan Mobley in that center spot. If Cleveland was to do this deal, again, you're most likely looking at that taking Jalen Green as that Collin Sexton replacement. And I think as far as a potential fit for Sexton on the Rockets, he does have those bright spots, like Anish said, about the scoring and the shooting, and also the fact that he is fitting the timeline at just 22 years old. But I think the concerns are just a little bit too much for me to really put too much thought into doing this deal because of the fact that, number one, his offensive issues are pretty counterintuitive to what we're looking to do in a system where you want to move the ball a little bit more. Having a guy who is prone to having tunnel vision at times isn't the best idea. We saw how bad it was with John Wall at times, where he was shot chucking, and it completely kills our offense at times. And having Sexton, that doesn't really help our system. It doesn't fit the system when you have a guy who is prone to having tunnel vision at times. His defense it's okay if you do draft Mobley. I think it's okay in the point where you're not going to see his defense getting exploited, and he is improving in that factor. But my biggest concern with it isn't really more on the court, but rather off the court. We don't know how great of a chemistry Colin Sexton has with Kevin Porter Jr. because of all the locker room issues that were going on in Kevin Porter Jr.'s time in Cleveland. It wasn't directly related to Sexton because that issue was more revolving around Taurean Prince taking Kevin Porter Jr.'s locker, moving him into a spot where the less important players on the team are. And there's a possibility that Kevin Porter Jr. maybe felt that he was being treated inferiorly compared to the more guys who were seen more as the Cleveland franchise players in Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. He might have felt that he didn't really was viewed as the main guy on the team, as one of an important piece of that young core. He felt like he wasn't viewed that way. And so moving Colin Sexton into this situation where now those guys are back together, where Sexton was, in Porter Jr.'s eyes, being held with more respect and being seen as more valuable in the organization in Cleveland, Kevin Porter Jr. probably isn't going to like that, having to, put up with him again. And I think just because of that, it's just a little bit too much of potential issues that could arise with Kevin Porter Jr. on the Rockets, for Colin Sexton on the Rockets, for me to really want that potential locker room issue. It's not guaranteed to happen. Again, this is all speculation. This is all just thinking what might happen if Sexton's on the Rockets, but just that prospect of that chemistry clash happening again between Colin Sexton and Kevin Porter Jr. is enough for me to want to avoid anything to do with that. Kevin Porter Jr. over this half season or so has been really good in, number one, his off-court character, and also just how much he's blossomed on the court. And I wouldn't want Colin Sexton to interrupt that both on and off the court. And again, these are all just, minor thoughts, rumors circulating around. Let us know down in the comments if you would want to see Colin Sexton on the Houston Rockets and why. Again, if a potential Colin Sexton, Mobley, Porter Jr., Tatum Wood lineup, that's a very, very good lineup, of course, with its issues, but it's still a promising lineup. Let us know if that idea is something that you would be interested in, a potential Sexton on the Rockets team. Let us know if you'd be interested in that down in the comment section, and we'll talk about it there. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. I'm Joel, and I was joined here by Anish. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, okay, never mind. Wait, what did you want to say?
It's all good. It's fine. You can just end it. I just wanted to say that he could fit because most of the shots he takes are just from the three or into the paint, or so he's kind of fits that kind of offense that we were looking for, or we were kind of running for the past few years. So I feel like he could have fit in that regard, but and also that his he had a career high in assists, so obviously he's really improving on that playmaking aspect. That's all I wanted to add. But yeah, I'll just add it as text in the video, so it's okay. So they can just read something on the screen, so it's okay. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.